Alright, welcome back. So at last, after 2 years, I finally got planning permission to build some cabins. So today I'm at Knockburn Wood, which is a wood in the south of Scotland, so near to Dalbeattie. And I've owned this wood a couple of years now, so those of you who've been watching a while might remember I did a video on this a couple of years ago. But before I get to what's happened over those 2 years, I thought I'd just kind of explain a little bit about the wood here. So the total wood here is about 12 hectares in size, and predominantly it's either spruce or it's birch. So yeah, about half of it's spruce, so like what's behind me here, and the other half is birch. If I spin round, there's birch, a lot of birch in that direction. I mean, actually some of this right in front of us is willow, but most of it is actually birch. Yeah, and so there are a few other species in there, but generally, yeah, very much spruce or birch. Up until now, the forest has been managed under a clear fell method. So it used to be, I bought the wood from the government. They were managing it under the clear fell method, so where the trees are planted and then they're all cut down in one go, at least the spruce areas. And here, what we would call a third generation spruce. So the spruce that's growing here is the third lot that's been planted. So the other two previous crops, as they would say, have been harvested and taken away, and now we're on to the third generation. Of course, my plan is to convert this to continuous cover forestry, so where we have a mix of ages and different types of species growing together, and we're just taking a small percentage of timber out at any one time. So, but to get to that point and make it all work financially, we need other forms of income. So the cabins are there to provide income to make it financially worthwhile, especially before we get to actually producing timber, which is actually worth something. So the spruce here is just under 20 years old, and really you're looking at spruce that's like, in this sort of area, 35, 40 years to actually be able to make money off taking timber out, compared to the cost of harvesting it. Sorry, it's raining a bit, so which is why I keep having to clean the camera. So originally, 2 years ago, the plan was to build some cabins which we would lease out. We would lease out the sites and other people would come in and build their cabins. But unfortunately, because of the problems that we've run into, we've had to change the plan. So the main problem here is there's a burn, and I can get some photos, maybe I can stitch them in here. And that runs through the middle of the wood here. The kind of the nice part, as in the birch part, the part which is nicest to be in, is on the opposite side of the burn. That's where we wanted to build the cabins originally, or other people to be able to build their cabins originally. But the issue is the burn that runs through, it might look very small, but it can actually flood quite significantly, or according to the models, it can flood quite significantly, which means we have to provide a safe way out of the cabins if it flooded, so people didn't get trapped there. So we'd have to build quite a long bridge. It'd have to be very robust, and the costs of building that were very high compared to the money we would potentially make off leasing out those sites. So that really wasn't going to work, because the problem is the building on this side of the burn, they're just not as nice. There's not so many locations where we could put cabins. So to make it work financially, decided that actually we would need to build the cabins and then to rent them out. So it's just like a holiday let people would come here and stay here and enjoy spending time here, but then they would leave and other people would come. And the other benefit of doing that is we could actually show people more how we convert a forest to continuous cover. So as well as people coming and staying here and kind of enjoying relaxing here, you'd also get activities and demonstrations and tours about what we're doing here. So that's one benefit of going down this kind of holiday route more, rather than the leasing them out and letting people just come here when they would like to and build their own huts. So there's benefits both ways, and I definitely wanted to go down that other option of having cabins that people would lease and build their own in the future. But just here in this woodland, it just wasn't going to work financially. So so going back to the planning application, we have to resubmit a new application, and 2 weeks ago it was finally granted. So that was over 2 years since we bought the land, bought the forest, finally able to start building the cabins. But of course it's not quite that simple, so there's quite a lot of other things we need to do before we can start building. And mainly that's working out the finances, making sure everything in terms of like all the kind of small design and details we can kind of get right, and we can do it how we want to. And I guess a lot of that's around the environmental impacts. So that's something that I'm quite keen that we do in the most environmentally friendly way we can, but acknowledging that it does have an impact. You know, building cabins, we are going to be cutting down some trees, we are going to be disturbing some wildlife and the soils, but how can we really do that in the least way we can, but still achieving kind of the vision for what we'd want the cabins to be? So there's quite a bit of interesting kind of looking into that, because obviously a lot of people building cabins aren't really pushing the boundaries of that, and what can we do to really kind of reduce the impact that we're having. And part of that's through like design. So where I've put the cabins, I've really tried to think about how that kind of fits in with how we can build them and operate them going forward, but also in terms of how we actually construct it. So what materials we're using, how are we getting kind of the services around in terms of power and water, things like that. And then long term, how are we going to operate that? So how are we going to, like, in terms of cleaning the cabins, recycling, maintaining, all those kind of things, all kind of, how does that all work together? So there's obviously quite a lot of moving parts there. Of course, overall, in terms of the impact that we have on the environment, I kind of, which is very subjective, but I kind of think how we're going to change the management of the forest here to continuous cover is a positive, and that the negative we have in the local area, the small area that we're changing to cabin use, will actually kind of will either balance itself or actually be more beneficial overall, which, I mean, I hope it is more beneficial overall, otherwise what are we doing this for? And yeah, in terms of the actual design here, maybe I can put some images or something in. So the actual area the cabins covers is, like, I think it's 2 or 3% of the forest. The actual forest that we're gonna have to remove for, like, the path and the car park and the cabins themselves and the deck area is like less than 1% of the forest. So, but obviously the impact is felt wider than that in terms of like potential animals that come into the cabin area at the moment, which might not come in anymore. And of course there's positives and negatives there, because in Scotland we have quite a large deer pressure here, and obviously if you have more people, that keeps the deer away, which leaves more opportunity for plants that might get eaten by deer to grow. But of course, on the other hand, there might be other species that would avoid going near the cabins, which maybe we should be encouraging more of. So it's really, I guess it's quite complicated is what I'm saying, and what I'm trying to do at the moment is figure out how we can maybe measure that over time. So maybe how can we compare what it is like at the moment with how it is this time next year, in 10 years time, in 20 years time. So that's kind of what I'm also trying to explore before we even start any construction, like how can we actually measure this properly going forward, or at least as much as we can. I think there's always more that you can do, but it's kind of trying to be practical, trying to be realistic on what we can achieve, and trying to be consistent as well. So what we can measure now, we can also measure next year and in the future. So hopefully I'm not being too long-winded on that, but that's kind of a summary of what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, so in terms of where I've placed the cabins, so the cabins have been placed where there's naturally either less trees, maybe there's a small clearing, maybe there's just less trees in general, maybe the trees haven't grown so well. So some areas here the trees haven't grown so well because of the soil conditions. So maybe I should go back a tiny bit. So the cabins are generally in the spruce areas. So 3 of the cabins that are completely in spruce. They're all in places where the spruce hasn't grown so well because it's a bit wetter. The spruce hasn't liked it. So in some ways, it might be better to take all the spruce out there anyway and to replant other species. And 2 of the cabins, so 2 of the tree houses are kind of on the edge of the spruce area. So there's like some spruce that would need to be chopped down to put the cabins in, and a few birch as well. But generally most of the trees coming out are spruce, and spruce that aren't growing so well. Right, let's go and have a look. Let's go and look at one of the treehouse sites. So there's 5 units, 5 kind of cabins, but 3 of them are tree houses, which are they're going to be elevated in the trees, in the canopy. And 2 of the cabins are just normal. They're just on the ground, just because where the location of those are, I don't think it really makes sense to elevate them. There's the trees there, like I was saying, especially where the cabins are, the trees have grown quite poorly. So it's definitely better that, well, not better, but I think it's definitely, it seems just more appropriate those ones to be on the ground, because you're just a bit more in with the vegetation in the forest. Right, so okay, it's just a bit further. Just spin it around. I wonder how easy it's going to be to see. So okay, so here's the burnout I was talking about. Let's go and have a quick look at that. So as you can see, it doesn't look so substantial. It's maybe about 2.5 meters wide here. It's probably only like 20 centimeters deep, but supposedly, yeah, when it's when there's been a lot of rain, it can flood basically all up there, all into the forest over there. Here there's actually a bit of a bank here, which is why we're able to put one of the tree houses up here. So you can just see through here there is a bit of a slight gap in the trees. So yeah, just through here, see these small trees, there's a bit of a gap in here. So a few of the spruce behind there will have to come out. But generally it's going to be in this kind of, if I go up as well, you can see more of the sky up there. So the treehouse will be elevated in here, and there'll be like a deck at the front. You'll be able to look down onto the burn down here. The idea is to leave these birch and rowan that are growing along here. So you want to feel like you're in the forest. And if you can see here, there's been some sort of bird attack. Dead bird been eaten maybe by a fox or something. And if you see in here, this is what the spruce areas generally look like, where it's where the ground isn't too wet, they're growing all right. And if I get in a bit here, talk a bit more about forestry. So for a continuous cover forest, we'd want to be coming in here quite soon, and we'd be removing about 30% of the trees in here. Is the plan. And I'll just push through here a little bit. So yeah, in a continuous cover forest, we'd be removing about 30% of the trees in here, and that would allow the remaining trees in here to start growing and putting on more volume, and hopefully more light would then start going down to the floor. And in some areas, you'd start, even after the first time we'd come in and thin, you'd start seeing some natural regeneration of trees. That'd be kind of spruce, but also you'd hope that other tree species might start moving in depending on the light level, so potentially like oak. So at the same time as putting the cabins in here, we're going to be going in and thinning the remaining wood here for to start kind of creating the good quality timber that we're looking for. And also we'll be, as I said, showing people what we're doing. So I think it's fine me chatting away on camera here and telling people this is what happens, but it's so much different when you actually get in here yourself and start looking. And as you'll know on the channel, at the moment all our work has been like planting trees, planting a new forest, and obviously that's a long time until we'd actually start managing under real continuous cover in terms of how we actually cut trees out and which trees we're taking and having that forest feeling. So here, this is really somewhere we can be 20 years ahead of where we are at the forest we just planned. We've got trees already here. We can actually really kind of show people what's actually happening, and you just get, it's just also kind of nicer to spend time in trees and forests. So yeah, really looking forward to that. So we're probably looking at another couple of months in terms of like looking at the finance side, working out the kind of the more detailed plans. So I'll kind of keep you up to date on what's happening there, and then kind of how the timeframes are going to be going forwards. So I'm super excited about the project here. I really think we can create a forest that produces timber, that's great for wildlife, and also an awesome place for people to come and spend time and to learn about continuous cover forests. The next step is to work out all the final costs of things, to make sure we've got enough money to build it, and then to get on and crack on with things. So if you want to follow the journey here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next video.